Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Nanaya Ayabwe Show. I have with me Dominic Dom Brighton. Oh my goodness. Listen, I don't have the voice to give you the kind of accolades you give people on your talk, on your podcast. If you've ever heard this man speak and the way he goes about you're going to get a dose of it on this podcast, and it's very special. You've done almost 750 episodes right now. So you are a pro. I'm a baby coming up behind you. Whew. Dom,
Well, thanks for having me. I mean, hey, ain't nothing wrong with where you are right now. You got, what is it, 1.5 thousand subscribers? 1,500 subscribers on YouTube at least?
to 2.4.
See, there you go. So you're
Yeah,
doing great.
I'm coming. I'm coming. So Dom is a writer, a coach, a podcaster. What aren't you?
Well, I'm not an underwater basket weaver. I don't do that.
Yet.
I
Yet.
don't do the underwater basket weaving. That's a little outside of my realm of interest right there. It's like, oh, swimming, sure, count me in, but it's like make a basket underwater. No, thank you. No, might end up drowning. See a shark and be like, take this basket, like, ha ha. And the shark's like, yeah, I got dinner. Oh man, this was kind of crunchy.
I, I, I thought you catch the shark and bring it, and we'll make dinner out of that shark. Oh boy. Unfortunately, you become that dinner. Yeah.
It'll be
Dom,
like, I got
I
a
want to
chocolate one
say
this
so
time.
thank you. I want to say a very big thank you for saying yes. Thank you for coming on the Nanaya Ayabwa show. It is my privilege and a pleasure. And I know whoever that is going to listen to this podcast is going to get some amazing insight from you. You did not just rise to 750 episodes just like that. And I listened to a wee bit of it, and you interview authors from across the board, and the kind of conversations you have with them is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Now, before we start and get to who you are and how I found you, yada yada yada, I want to know your beginning story.
Oh, well, sure thing. Well, for those who don't know, his name's Dominique Don Brightmon, hail from the wonderful land of charm and crab cakes known as Baltimore, Maryland, US of A on the East Coast. And my beginnings were pretty humble. I was blessed to have my mother and my father. My father was a veteran in the 82nd Airborne Division. He was a paratrooper with two combat jumps, decorated soldier, fought in both the World War II as well as not Vietnam. Thank God he didn't go to Nam. He actually fought in the Korean War. Let me get the countries right, because Nam was way different than the Korean War. And my mother,
Mm,
she was highly educated. First ever speaking coach, as I like to affectionately call her, among many other
mm,
things. First ever teacher in the house for a reason. She had her master's degree in psychology.
mm,
And I have to say, my speaking ability comes from her because she would always reminisce among the many different stories she would tell me over and over again how she would always be the last person to go up, whether it's for school plays to play a certain character, because they say, yep, that door, that was her nickname back then before the Explorer. Like that door, you get her on stage, she's going to knock it out the park. So, yeah, my first ever coach and raised with foundational principles of making sure you work hard, work really hard, because my father himself, even up to his early 80s, was still volunteering at his
mm,
church with heavy boxes for the food pantry. And my mother, she was always in the books and she would always like to go to school and study. And really just the desire for knowledge and always getting better. And those foundational principles actually helped me to get through grade school. And then when I got to college, I was able to put some of them to the test and add some more and then do some more reading, a little exploring, going for an IT degree, thinking I'm like, yeah, I think I'll go for an IT degree. It'll be fabulous. And then after getting it, realizing that, you know what, I'm already in the library field as a part time job and I kind of like books and people. So why not just stay here since they promoted me full time and they allow me to really just grow there. So it's been one heck of a wonderful upbringing. So basically, books and people is what I'm really all about, whether it's
Mm,
reading books and actually reading some wonderful books that I actually learned to love a lot
mhm.
later in my early 20s, as opposed to the books that force you to read in your grade school
Yeah.
years where you're fighting to stay awake.
I fully understand that. I totally understand that. I totally understand that. When you were talking about your beginning story, you did mention your father and volunteering in the church. I want to understand because every time I talk to many African American people of diaspora African American, the church is always one of the conversations that comes in. What does the church mean to you? What meaning does it hold for you?
The church means a lot to me because the thing is, especially the black church, the African American church, especially, no matter what flavor of denomination it is, there's so many hundreds of them, is the fact that at the end of the day, it's basically a center for relationships, a center for healing, center for basically sometimes even reconstruction. Because the thing is, it can be a hospital metaphorically for those broken souls, a place of community, a place of help. Like the thing is, it ain't just about the fact that hey, you may have a pastor, a deacon board, and possibly some employees depending on the size of the church. And they just have a good time on Sunday. Like particularly my church in particular, Mariah Baptist, we're actually one of the few churches, especially before the pandemic, that when we would serve meals in between services for folks who are staying after morning worship and staying for the afternoon, that we
Mm-hmm,
wouldn't charge people for it. Like we're blessed that much, and we run a food pantry at
mm-hmm,
least twice a week, is and a food kitchen for the homeless community as well, and do so many things with donations, and that even at one point even running computer classes and helping out folks with job searches and things like that. So really, the church, especially the black church, even hundreds of years ago, like, it would
mm-hmm.
basically be one of the refuges for people and their families, especially black folks and their families. There's a reason why some folks in certain political areas like to go to certain black churches to try to secure
Yeah.
certain votes because they're like, hey, I need to go where the people are. And like, hey, they, and it's usually going to be a good time when you go to a black church. So let me go there and maybe do try to campaign for some votes. And it doesn't
Mm-hmm,
always work out that way for some people because my pastor in particular, when a politician showed up and said, hey, we got somebody there is running for office. We're not going to tell you who or who not to vote for, but hey, they're here. And if you want to ask some questions, go on ahead. It just gets on with service because it's really all about being that real deal for folks.
mm-hmm.
And it's really just many things, especially when it comes to your spiritual development. So it's really more than just a brick and mortar wonderful wonderful place to be, but it's many things. It's definitely many things for the greater good.
Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, okay. So let's get to you. We've talked about your church. Hallelujah. Amen. Praise the Lord. So we've talked about you. Let's talk about your journey into the space of writing. You did mention that you loved the library, but loving the library necessarily doesn't mean that you end up being an author and not just one book, a slew of books.
Ah, yes, ma'am. Funny enough, that wasn't even something on my radar at first in terms of writing because I almost didn't graduate high school because English was one of my worst subjects
Wait,
in
what?
school. Yeah, it was bad. Like one time we had like a 200 question exam, and when they handed our grades back, when I failed it so bad, and a classmate my saw my paper, he's like, "Dang, Dom, your paper is bloody, man," because there were so many red marks on it. Like, who stabbed you, bro?
Wow.
Yeah, surprise, right?
Indeed, I am. Indeed, I am. Indeed, I am. I am. I am. Whoa.
Yeah.
But you know what? That speaks to something very, very important. I was having a conversation with my cousin's wife, and we were talking about, growing up, going to school, where the A students were the B students, then the C students. Now, I was maybe somewhere between C and B. I survived. But when you look at where the A students are, many A students, I realize, ended up in certain professions, such as, say, doctors, teachers, lawyers, that they go work and get paid. Whereby the C and B students, like me, more like the C students, are more creative, think outside the box, are too damn nosy. Yes. And also realize that many of the C students have some have actually gone and gotten their PhDs, but not because it is in the profession, but for more of a learning thing to enhance themselves, the wisdom and the knowledge that comes to it, not the rigorous, critical box that you fit in. So I am surprised, and anybody will be surprised, because when we see each other like this, and when we hear each other after years of accumulating a lot, there's an assumption in us that, yes. So that is the assumptive part of me that's like, oh, okay, 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 okay. Nice, nice. So what brought you into this? I read your podcast is in the top 2% of the self-help podcast. Now I have no idea where my podcast is, so just leave that one aside. what
Hey, it's
what
cool.
what brought you into the podcasting, space?
Ah, yes. Well, what brought me to the podcast space was for years, again, kind of like with the church, where I discovered that I actually had a voice that folks actually enjoyed hearing. Folks for years would tell me I have this radio voice, and
Mm-hmm.
was doing public speaking. I learned how to communicate publicly back in the church. I had to recite verses every week and was able to do well in college whenever there was a public speaking course I had to take, and even went to Toastmasters International to polish my craft and that skill in that area. And I took a side quest where I eventually published my first book, Going North: Tips and Techniques to Advance
Mm-hmm.
Yourself. But about a good, I'd say, 9 months after the book was published, sales weren't really happening. There was, like, no drips in the faucet at all for at least a good
Mm.
month or 2. I'm like, "Oh, I should probably market this book. Oh, wait, I wanted to start a podcast. Let me go there." So, that wonderful journey of writing that first book actually helped me to get more clarity on what I originally wanted to do, and that was to
Mhm.
start a podcast, because one of the major things about a podcast, it's a wonderful tool for those in business, and I recommend folks start a podcast if they're in business and if they have a product to sell. Because the thing is, it's like there's a nice realm and a nice area for hobby podcasters to be in. Like, anybody can create a podcast, but the end of the day, that's the easy and hard part. Anybody can make a podcast and start one. It's really not only starting one, but keeping going with it. And I originally started it as a way to market my books, but after realizing, hey, let me not make this be all about me here. Let me interview fellow writers and have a platform for them to promote themselves and their work. Because the thing is, with a lot of writers, especially after the year 2020, we have a lot of what I like to call book boomers because folks who are still alive today after that year, they most likely published a book. There's at least 89,000 books published a month, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's like so many folks are trying to figure out what the heck do I do? It's like, oh, if they're good, they're cool. I'll interview them on the show. And I made a promise in the show notes or this description of the show that every Thursday a new episode would go up.
Mm-hmm.
And every Thursday an episode would go up. Heck, even when December popped around, put up 2 episodes every week. Thinking, oh yeah, double portion December, that would be great. And did that consistently for 6 months. And that's one of the major things that set
Mm-hmm.
elite podcasts apart from everyone else is that they're consistently uploading content when they
Mm-hmm.
say that they will. And I got noticed in the year 2018 after those 6 months of starting in September of 2017
Mm-hmm.
by a guy named Steve Olsher, where he would release a giant list of the 668 top podcasts in the world, and he would list 10 in every category. And
Mm-hmm.
under self help, alongside Brendan Burchard, Gretchen Rubin, and Lewis Howes, I saw my pretty
Yes.
face on there. And I'm like, dude, like
Whoa,
this guy,
snap.
a
You
random
done
black guy
it.
from Baltimore, I'm on there.
You are on there in the top 10. Whoa. Cool, cool,
Yeah.
cool, cool. With some big names.
Yeah, way bigger
You,
than me.
yeah. Oh, well. Yeah. Now I understand why you said what you said. I'm not a little fish.
Exactly. It's like, hey,
Yes, yes, yes.
internet is leveled it for everybody almost.
That's true. That's true. I should keep going. I'll also get big as I keep going. Beautiful. So, eh, what was I'm going to ask you two questions. The intentions for the how do you call it? Going North podcast. The Going North podcast. The name, because it was a book name. Did you have to name the show the same? But first and foremost, why Going North? Why didn't we?
Oh.
Why didn't we go south or east or west? Why north?
Well, when you look on the map and you're pointing north, it's all about going up. It's all about going up in your life, embracing your dreams, manifesting the life that you truly want to live, and really up leveling yourself, your life, and those around you. And that actually started off as a joke, funny enough, because one day I was running semi late for work and was clocking in, and a buddy was like, "Hey, Dom, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know, I'm going freaking north." And another colleague just busted out laughing because most times when folks ask you how's it going, they don't think of a direction. They expect you to answer it like you're saying hello or what's up. And it's
Yes,
like, well,
yes, yes,
I'm
yes,
going north. And
yes.
that eventually became the title of the book, which is a self-help inspirational book under 100
Mhm,
pages for the distracted folks out there, myself included. I mean, we're all fighting for each other's attention in this wonderful attention management age. And when I released the book, one of the semi curses of a creative mind is the fact that
mhm.
when we create something, we kind of put it out there. If we put it out there, and we try to move on to something else.
It's
But I had a
true.
conversation with a coaching buddy of mine when I mentioned I was starting a
Mhm,
podcast and I was going to call it something else. And she's like, "Hey, wait a second. You got this book Going North. You're kind of the Going North guru here. Like, don't want to leave this brand just out here lying alone like that." And
mhm.
she was right. Like, I
Yeah.
thought, you know what? Let me create something else. But hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And
Do-
when you have gold, like, see if you can
Mhm,
find more gold, and that's how I kept the name for the show because it's hey, it's a lifestyle. It started off as a joke. It's
mhm,
all about really helping others to go north and their
mhm,
life as well. It's a book, and now it's a show that's been
mhm.
going on for 6 years and counting now. So the name of the game is
Oh,
all about going north.
you answered my question already. 6 years going
Yes,
with the
ma'am,
podcast.
indeed.
Whoa, that is great. That is great. That is great. Yeah. I got a wee bit distracted. My son just came through. Maybe when we done, he will watch this podcast and learn a thing or two about motivation, inspiration, etc., etc. So let's get back to the meat of it. At present, where do we, find, your works, or which if individuals or companies that you kind of work with when it comes to motivation and inspiration, and then what you do focus on.
Nope, sure thing. So if I'm hearing the question right, you're just asking where can folks find me?
Yes, that's the first question. I have a bad habit of asking three or four questions in one. Not a bad
There you
habit,
go.
it's just a complicated mindset. My brains run that way.
There you go. That means you got a lot of ideas in your brain and your noggin.
True that. True. True. You're right. You're right. Hmm.
That's right, indeed. That means Nana loves using her noodle.
Now, somebody should have told me that this podcast is going to be full of laughter.
Man, you should have saw it coming.
I, I really, well, I kind of, but I kind of thought, okay, I'm going to be, formal. I am going to
Oh,
be
nah, forget that.
sti-
Nah, ain't no formal, nah. Folks are too uptight these days. Be loose.
be loose. Okay, I hear you. I hear you, my dear. I hear you. Okay, so back to the question. Talk to me.
Yep, so the good news is it's
Mhm.
all on dombrightmon.com. I try to spread everything online, and that's the thing with branding. Try to make it as easy as possible for folks to find you. That's why everything is at Dom Brightman, and that's the thing about branding, because sometimes when folks are starting out, they don't get those lessons. But the thing is, you got to make it easy for folks to find you. And
Mhm.
sometimes you have to reach out to people. And when you keep things simple, that way they can find you a lot easier and keep things easy for you. Because, hey, that's how you found me. It's like, oh, wow, something's actually working here because you're all the way out in Toronto at the moment
Oh,
compared to me.
so I found you through podcasts, whatever. They send me all these people. It's like, oh, okay. So I go in, read, 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 read. It's like, oh, okay. He's speaking my language. Okay, I'm going to send him a little message and see if he'll respond. And it's like, oh, say, hey, absolutely. I said, okay, we on, we on. And then I saw Maryland. It's like, oh, once upon a time I used to play around in Maryland.
Oh,
Yeah, I had family in BC, but no more. I don't know even know. Yes. Now you do say that how do we call it? Empowering people allows you to empower yourself. I think I may have butchered it. I didn't quote you properly, but alongside that kind of idea. Break it down.
yeah. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that because that's another alternative version of it. Because, hey, what's advancing? It's all about empowering yourself and other people, and that's what you do when you advance. It's like you're climbing a ladder, but to take it to the next level, it's about building a ladder as well. So that way you don't be up to the metaphorical mountain or the summit all by yourself. And the thing is, we're basically standing on the shoulders of giants here. Someone created this wonderful internet that we're on. Someone created this
Mhm.
wonderful platform that we're using to connect with one another, where it's not like in the 90s where it's like, oh God, this is like a dream. This is like the Jetsons here. It's like, how the heck are we communicating thousands of miles away from each other in different time zones? It's like, we're really standing on the shoulders of giants here, and that's
Mhm.
really what it's all about, is that sharing a kind word with someone, sharing a good book with someone, sharing some useful information for them, like tips on how to grow the show or to grow the YouTube account, or how to really make a small adjustment in life that'll actually yield a bigger change for them in
Mhm.
their life. It's really all about advancing and empowering others through those things. Heck, even sometimes even referring business to those people. Heck, funny enough, I was at a communication conference years ago and I was connected with this photographer and he also does videography as well. And I interviewed a podcast guest, and she was launching her new book, and she needed someone in the DMV area willing to come out and record and do some photography for her. And I knew about, I'd say, around a good 6 or 7 photographers, and I sent the list to her along with their websites. And the guy that I met that day ended up getting business from her, all because
Mm.
I decided to keep his information, and he had the
Mhm.
best presentation of his business and what he does because one of the major things he likes to mention is that hey folks will be like, hey man, you just taking pictures, man, like I ain't paying you all this money just for taking pictures. But the thing is, it's really capturing an experience, it's creating an experience for people, it's cherishing memories, it's creating
Mhm.
those memories for your moment of metaphorical time travel
Mhm.
because the more pictures you have, especially sadly when I lost my father a few years ago and we were looking through some old photo albums for a
Mhm.
slideshow, it was just seeing him decades younger before he got a sickness and lost all that weight. And just
Mhm.
seeing times when he was younger and I was a lot younger too, as a little small baby. It's like, oh wow, I actually looked like that back in the day and just reminiscing of those different times. So
Mhm.
it's not, oh, I'm taking pictures, as I'm actually providing an experience. It's like, and you invited me on the show and you think being surprised about the humor. It's like, hey, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I want to share some great content, but I want it
Mhm.
to be a great experience. And humor is one of the
Mhm.
major ways to ensure a great experience because everyone needs a little touch of humor in their life. They need that metaphorical spoonful of sugar to help the
Mhm.
medicine go down.
Oh, okay, 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 okay. I, I, I think my thing is, if you let me be, it will just be all jokes, 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 jokes. And I
Yay.
was trying to kind of hone on it and finding somebody who is more than I am on the humor side is like, okay. That there is seniority, there is seniority. Then my brain starts going, it's like, okay, what questions do you have to ask him? What were you really thinking before you start pulling all over the place and talking about things that are not? Maybe it will be very funny, a fun, how do we call it, a fun filled podcast. But hey, so now I'm going to throw it to you. Do you have any questions to ask me? Which I
I
don't normally do. I do the asking, but now I'm asking you. Do you have any questions to ask me? The ball is in your court.
didn't know you like to switch positions. Well,
I
the thing
don't,
is,
but I realize I'm with a master humorist. If is that a word?
it is humorist is a word. It's a, I guess it's a title for some folks, especially those who like to perform and magicians too. But hey, fun
Mm.
question for you. What are you excited about over the next 6 to 12 months?
Oh, so in the next 6 to 12 months, I have intentions of going to Sierra Leone, West Africa. And one of my key passions in life is nursing, labor and delivery. So I'm going with a group to train nurses and midwives. So train the trainer in that profession. So I am really it's like pumped and excited that I can do that. Given, I wouldn't say given back, but given to those that need it the most. Yeah. So yes, yes. And then maybe have another trip to the Congo and Ghana. If I can afford it, make 3 trips to the motherland on various projects. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Sweet. There we go.
Sweet
Hashtag super
dreams are
nurse.
made of these. Who am I to disagree? Okay, that's it. That's it. Oh my goodness. So, s- do you have another question to ask me?
I don't know. That depends.
One of these days, we might do a comedic podcast show. What do you think?
There we go. That's right, indeed. I could be the camel. You could be the banana.
Oh, jeez. You need Jesus, you need saving. Hallelujah. 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 Oh my goodness.
I mean, if you want to be an eggplant instead, that's cool too. Or a
Holy,
penguin.
holy moly. Holy moly. Okay. All righty. All righty. So let's talk about this, yo. I think I asked that question slightly differently. We were talking behind, and I was telling you the intentions for this podcast as also a way of bridging for blacks across from here and the diaspora, and whether by experience or whatever that is going on, we have a lot of young black men coming here to say Canada and the United States for one thing or the other, either as refugees or just as students or whatnot. In your wisdom, what kind of bridging advice can you give to them as you know as an African American whose ancestry has been on this soil for over 400 years.
Powerful question right there. I have to say, advice for bridging is definitely have an open mind and learn from the people around you because we're in an era where clickbait is probably one of the, I guess, one of the few. It
Mhm,
can be it 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 can be paradise in a way if it's accurate, but also can be poisonous because a lot of folks they may see headlines and go with the headline as opposed to reading the actual article. So
mhm,
when you travel overseas, especially like coming over to the side of North America, like hey, like really take in the experiences, have an open mind, ask questions, be curious, have open eyes as well, and really observe as opposed to really just coming in with your metaphorical gavel and judging folks as like, oh
mhm,
my gosh, every wonderful him is going to be a wonderful athlete. They're going to be a beast at sports, or they can probably rap, I don't know, like 5 albums in one mixtape, or they can do all these wonderful, crazy things. Oh, they're an amazing dancer, things like that. It's like, it's really all about having that open mind and listening and learning from other people because there are some wonderful, brilliant minds here. And I'm
mhm,
sure there are brilliant minds that took a lot to make it over here to the wonderful continent of North America. So,
mhm,
and that goes for both sides too, because I'm sure there's probably some folks will be like, "Oh God," they might call us cicadas, depending, because it's like, "Oh, we've been here for so long, we try to visit over there and see the wonderful motherland," but they're like, "Oh, it's like, nah," because I have an uncle who's a minister and he loves to visit different parts of Africa,
mhm,
even like, even part of his requirement for being a AMEZ minister was to visit Africa, and he loves it so much that he's probably made at least probably 7 trips over there, and he's learned so much
mhm,
from folks from Ghana and Nigeria, and that's just only 2 parts of that huge, wonderful,
mhm,
beautiful continent of Africa, so I have to say have an open mind and learn. That's probably the major thing for both sides and really find how you can collaborate with other peoples to better yourself because we're really stronger together as opposed to
mhm,
being separate because we got enough nonsense out there trying to divide people from each other, whether black or white. It's bad enough when it's, oh yeah, good old tribe versus folks over here who may have been separated from the tribes hundreds of years
Hmm.
ago since the good old pilgrims appeared.
That was questionable, but whether
Yeah,
they
it
were
is.
pilgrims or not, it's questionable. So, any plans in the future to visit the motherland, the continent of Africa?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because the thing is, we're at least in America, they're always selling the bad parts of Africa. Like, oh yeah, they're so behind the times or whatnot. It's like, no, it's really not behind the times. It's actually futuristic and caught up with the 21st century. Heck, even like with my uncle himself was visit there many
Hmm.
times, talk about how beautiful Africa is as a continent, and just the two places that he's been, and at least the ones that he's told me about. So yeah, definitely to visit Africa and different parts of Africa to see all the wonderful things that it has to offer and some of the things I'm missing out on because again, with the marketing and the PR, the dark side of it, showing only the bad parts of the
Hmm.
world, they try to keep you scared and in the house, but
Hmm.
I don't want to be one of those people.
Thank you. You've really touched on a very key point, and that's also part of why I love this podcast, telling, bridging, because I do find that when I reach out, and the first question I normally get is, "Oh, so where are you from? Where's the name from?" That is always an icebreaker, trying to figure out where I am from. But I really do appreciate it, because my intentions, that means the purpose and the reason why I'm doing this is really carrying across, as a storyteller. um as much as we inspire and transform or motivate in life, but also across the board, sharing these narratives of experience for us to get to know more of each other and together rise together. Yes. Hey, Dominique, I would have thought you were francophone, but you are all Baltimore. What is the word? Baltimore Morian or whatever. What is that a word?
Baltimorean, yeah. Yeah, I get a lot of flack from the folks in the city. They're like, "Are you seriously from here, bro?" And I'm like, "Yeah, just because I put the T in the city when I say it doesn't mean I'm not from here." And they're like,
Oh,
"Oh, you did."
so that T should not be in it.
Oh
How?
yeah, cuz yeah, cuz a lot of folks they may say be more or Baltimore. They don't put the T in there.
Oh,
They just
please.
say Baltimore or be more.
Maybe they ate too much gumbo and swallowed the R. That's why. don't say, don't tell anybody I said that. Dom, it's been such a pleasure having you. I hope we can do this some other time as well. Don't be a stranger. Guys, this has been the Nanaya Yabwa Show with inspirational, motivational speaker, podcaster, 750 episodes and going of is it the True North Project?
Ah, the Going North
The
podcast. We're
going of,
going north, baby.
oh,
We're going up.
geez, we're going up, 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 up. Oh, and I said the True North. Oh, True North is Canada. Going north is Baltimore.
Oh, don't worry. It's all north from here.
Now,
Even Florida's north if you're coming from Argentina.
true that, I can't say no. True that, it's true, it's true. Now, before we sign off, you got to do your drop.
Oh, yes, the wonderful drop. Well, for those who enjoyed yours truly on the microphone, thanks a bunch, Nana, for having me on your fabulous podcast. That's only getting started and is going to keep on growing and growing north to bigger and better numbers. For those who want to keep in touch with yours truly, head over to dombrightman.com. That's dombrightman.com, and you'll get a free gift known as the 21 Lessons Learned from 5+ years of podcasting. A nice little free ebook for those looking to start, grow, and manage a successful podcasts of their own from a guy who's interviewed over 800 authors and counting up to 1,000 authors. And you can get all that on dombrightman.com.
That's what's up. Whoa. Guys, please subscribe, hit the notification bell wherever you see it, whether up there or whatever down there, just hit it. And we'll be bringing you more episodes and interesting conversations such as this. Thank you.